Derek had always liked telling stories. His childhood hadn't always been the best, and so who knows how many kids before him, he'd found solace in the worlds that he could create instead. He'd write movie scripts and draw characters. As he grew older, he'd learn to animate and create things that could make people laugh. He didn't necessarily want to be a game developer, at least not to begin with, but he had dreamt of one day having a job in which he created things, stories most of all. Unfortunately, whatever that profession looked like, there didn't seem to be a whole lot of people doing it where Derek lived, in a town called Webbville in the state of Kentucky. In fact, there weren't many people living there, full stop. When Derek entered his 20s and got married, he and his wife lived with his family in a house that had just one single neighbour. That's how small Webbville actually is. It's fair to say without YouTube, Derek's big break may never have materialised. After high school, he'd bounced between a few jobs, but in his free time, he found himself a side project. There's this piece of free software released by Valve in 2012 called Source Filmmaker, and it allows you to create animated shorts using games like Half-Life or Team Fortress as your theatre, and Derek had become obsessed with it. He'd put together short stories or skits, upload them to YouTube, and there thousands of people ended up watching them. He was able to find an audience and a community outside of his small hometown, and they found him too. After several years of making this stuff around his day jobs, Derek was contacted about an upcoming game called Hunt Down the Freeman. It was going to be set in the Half-Life universe, although it was a long way away from being an official Valve product, and the team making it wanted Derek to come on board and help put together the game's cutscenes. He couldn't believe it. It wouldn't pay well and he'd need to work from home, but finally his foot was in the door. At the very end of 2017, just before Derek would start work on this new project, his mother was rushed to hospital. She'd been ill for a long time by this point, fighting a liver disease that hadn't been getting any better, and 2 weeks later, she passed away. Derek and his family were left devastated. He found himself putting more and more hours into his work, at times falling asleep at his desk as he tried desperately to ensure that this first creative job of his was a success. It had to be. Hunt Down the Freeman was released on Steam in late February of this year, and to put it bluntly, players hated it. Derek's cutscene work, however, was thought to be one of the project's very few saving graces. It may not have felt great to see the very first game that he'd worked on get panned, but he did now have something he'd never had before, a portfolio. He takes this work and starts applying to every single game studio he can, and there's one developer that seemed just the perfect fit. Based out of San Rafael, California, its games were all about storytelling. It turned out they were looking to add another cinematic artist to their team. Truth-on interviews later, and he's asked to put together a cutscene in the developer's style. He sends it over and is then given a week to make the changes they request. He has them all done in 4 days. Derek really wants this job, and he gets it. He remembers walking into the kitchen dumbstruck and asking his wife if she wants to move to California. It's a bittersweet moment for the two of them as they realise how many friends and family they'll be leaving behind. It's roughly 2,500 miles from Webbville to San Rafael, and neither Derek nor his wife have ever travelled that far away from home before. In fact, they've never been on a plane before this moment. It was an 8-hour flight to the West Coast, and they both had a fear of heights. But they go for it anyway, because this is the opportunity Derek had been dreaming of. They move to California, where they know almost nobody, and live out of a hotel for the first 2 months as they try to find somewhere to live in a place so vastly different to where they've come from. The job, thankfully, is worth it. After another first day in which he worries that his hair is too scruffy or that he's not wearing the right clothes, other members of the team take Derek out for lunch and make him feel welcome. He can belong here, he realises. And so the first 3 months just fly by. He makes friends, he learns new skills, he moves out of that hotel and into an actual home with his wife, and it's in this new home, one morning, that his dream job, one that he's thought so hard to get, at this cinematic storytelling focused studio, which, if you haven't guessed already, is called Telltale Games, falls apart.
Actually, I wasn't coming into work that day. It was my wife's birthday.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, we were going out to lunch, actually. I was in the shower, and one of my friends from Telltale, I saw that I got an email saying there was a last-minute company meeting. I was like, oh shit, should I probably come in? And he told me he would just let me know what they say. And I was in the shower. My wife picked up my phone and saw a text that said, we went under.
Oh my god.
Hello! So the original plan was to end the video right there to show just how abrupt this must have felt for Derek to have landed that job and then have it taken away so quickly. But we think there are also a couple of things we should mention. For a start, although we've told the story of Derek Wilkes here, His story is one amongst many at Telltale Games. Around 250 people lost their jobs last month, and they lost their jobs in a really shitty way. There was a company-wide meeting in which almost the entire studio was informed that they were no longer employed. Those people received no severance pay. Their health insurance was set to run out in just a few days, and on top of that, they were asked to leave the office within 30 minutes of that announcement. It's awful, but there's also a reason why we haven't put Telltale Games in the title of this video. This story of game developers being treated as a disposable workforce, unfortunately isn't a unique one to Telltale. It's not. We keep hearing stories like this over and over again. If you want a better contract, if you don't want to work evenings and weekends, if you have an issue with the company culture at the studio you're working at, then so what? We can find someone else to do your job instead. That is the message that all too many game developers are hearing at the moment. And it's because there are so many people desperate to get into the games industry in some form, which is great, but it also means those people end up being easy to exploit. And yeah, you might think, well, my job sucks too, but at least these people are getting to do what they love. And sure, they are, but they're not doing it for very long. People are leaving the games industry because of this, and they're not coming back. They're getting burnt out, they're being mistreated, and they're going to work in some other field, and they don't come back to games, and that hurts everyone. Even if you just care about how good your games are to play, they're worse because of this. Derek, for example, has now had to head back to Webbville, Kentucky, because he couldn't afford to stay in California after losing his job. There was a job fair for the Telltale employees that had been made redundant that he couldn't even afford to stick around for. He had to rely on donations to pay for one of the plane tickets for him and his wife to get back to Kentucky. How is he supposed to find his next job? Hopefully, if you can help with that, his contact information and a link to his YouTube channel where you can see his work is in the video description. But the bigger problem remains. I guess if Telltale Games has taught us anything, it's that people remember things. And yes, we should remember how great it was to play The Walking Dead Season 1 or The Wolf Among Us or whichever Telltale game is your favourite. But we also need to remember what happens to the people that make those games. It can't keep happening because it's making everything worse. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry this is a slightly down video, but I don't think we can start an outlet called People Make Games and not talk about Telltale and do it properly. So that's just the way it is. Thank you to our patrons for supporting this work. We couldn't do it without you, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.